Hi everybody, welcome back to On the Roof. Today we're in Pomeroy, Ohio at the Fur Peace Ranch with guitarist Jorma Kaukonen. Welcome, Jorma.
Hey man, thanks for coming down and visiting us. You know, we were talking earlier, we're pretty far from your roof down here, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it was a hell of a ride. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a good ride.
It's a good ride. Beautiful place you have here.
Thanks, man.
Well, we're here to talk about this memoir that you just wrote and will be out August 28th, right?
Yep.
And I wanted to ask you, why now? Why do you write this and tell this story now?
I think that I was finally able to write a memoir in an unself-conscious way that I don't think I would have been able to do earlier. I was pitched by some people back in the early 2000s to do a book, but they really weren't interested in my story, in my opinion. I think they were interested in me, like dishing dirt on, so you met Bobby Kennedy. What did you, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't interested in that. But I think that I was just finally able to tell the story in an honest, unself-conscious way. And my wife, Vanessa, God bless her, who's been sort of pushing for this, got to deal with St. Martin's Press. They gave us an advance, and once you get the advance, you got to deliver the goods, or you got to give the money back. So,
well, I mean, what a colorful life, man.
Well, I mean, you and I were talking about this a little bit off camera. Everybody's got a story. I mean, that's the deal, and depending on how you look at it, they can all be interesting. I've been blessed in a lot of ways, my parents, my grandparents, I mean, just my family was a bunch of lovable nuts in a lot of ways, and everybody just wound up doing a lot of stuff. I mean, you don't think about it when you're a kid. That's just the life that you're given, But looking back at it, I had a lot of interesting stuff happen to me.
A lot. How long did it take you from when you decided to do this, to do?
I think that the actual writing took about 1.5 years, and then there was a bunch of editing that was probably maybe another half a year that actually continued up until recently, some final stuff. I mean, I can't even, just as an aside, my thanks to everybody that's a professional proofreader. It's unbelievable. You can proofread something 1,000,000 times and you just miss the stupidest simple things. But anyway, starting to write it in the beginning, I've been blogging for a long time, but blogging is not the same as actually writing a cohesive thing. And so I started writing, and it was a little bit tough in the beginning because in my blogs, sometimes my blogs are just like a set list or a gig. We played this, I went to Fargo, North Dakota, whatever. And sometimes something happens and kicks me in the butt, and it makes me write something I think is interesting. Well, I started out waiting for that interesting thing happen to make me write the book, and that really didn't work. And I was listening to something on NPR, I think it was Terry Gross or somebody like that, I forget. But anyway, she was talking to somebody that was in the media business in LA, and he was a movie director, and I wish I could remember his name. Did all kinds of stuff. He wrote books, directed movies, did all sorts of stuff. And she was asking him my question: you have so much stuff to do. Do you wait for the muse to invite your soul? And he goes, I never get anything done. I make the process be my inspiration. And I went, wow, I like that, So I would sit down. I just make myself sit down every day, and I'd start to write, and I just wait till the flow. I made the process make me take that next step, and over the long run, it worked. Now, I'm sure that you write all this stuff down, and you wind up editing a lot of stuff out. Now, I've read about writers. It's like losing children. I really didn't feel like that because I realized that you think about a writer like Thomas Wolfe. Not everybody has a Maxwell Perkins that'll read 5,000 pages of manuscript to cull out the good stuff.
Yeah, right.
And I realized that you can go on, but you need help making it be cohesive. And I got that help. Their editors were really good at that. and I didn't feel like I was losing children by having pages excised, you know.
Right. Did you ever see yourself like as an eloquent writer?
I don't, not really, because I don't, you know, I'm not being disingenuous, but I've never really looked at myself that way, like there's something special about what it is that I do. I know that we're all special in a lot of ways, but for me to be productive, I need to keep myself, my size real in my universe and stuff like that. And that's dangerous. It's dangerous for me to think about that. However, I really do enjoy when I write stuff that I think is fun. Or maybe there's some sort of rabbit I chase down the hole, some metaphor that I like. See, I was really lucky also because, you know, I'm a second generation American. And my grandparent, both my grandparents on my mother's side went to college, and both my parents did. My father's side, they're eighth graders as far as they got. But so I was around, we read a lot, we talked about a lot of stuff. And I soaked all that stuff up. Like one of my friends that teaches songwriting was talking about, to be a good writer, you need to be a good reader. That's not strictly true, but I think that you just get a wider picture of stuff. So I've read a lot, and I listened to a lot of discussions I had my parents, you know, heard my parents give, and it just really inspired me, I think, to use language in a more complex way that I would have done had I not had that family.
Right. Right. Because as a songwriter, it was more to the point and simple and right?
Right. I think as a songwriter, for me, the songwriting thing is different. And looking back over the lyrics, which I had to do because they're sort of chronologically at the end of the book, you know, I'm not a tunesmith in that I write songs solely for a living. Like great songwriters that write songs for other people.
Yeah.
I'm not that person. So I've written a lot of songs over the years, but usually something has to kick me in the butt to make me do that. And so usually, actually, I think with all of my songs, they're inspired by something that's been going on in my life. And a lot of the stuff had to do with the, whatever you want to call the relationship or non-relationship, whatever that I had with my first wife. And, you know, that inspired a lot of that writing. And so that story to me just needed to be told as openly as possible without a lot of subterfuge and overusing metaphors and stuff like that, which I like using when I write prose.
Right. You know, in the book, when you did speak about that relationship, you would so I don't know, because I found it so refreshing the way you spoke about it, without being honest, without really being resentful,
Right.
or you were very respectful,
Right?
But yet very honest about a relationship that was, the way you described
It was,
it.
yeah, right. I mean, I'm not the first man or woman that's had an unpleasant marriage or relationship, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not
Right.
an exclusive club. But I'm sure that, I'm sure that maybe earlier on I might have blamed her. But look, I mean, it takes two to tango. And as I mentioned in the book, when we finally split up, in an odd way, we actually did it as friends, just like we finally both admitted this isn't working. And as I also said in the book, had I to do it over again, I might have not just vanished from her life one day. But I mean, that's what had to be done at the time. But as far as telling the story, there's just no place for vindictiveness because, I was equally to blame as she was. I mean, that was just the deal.
Right. That was the catalyst for many songs that were,
Absolutely. No, totally. Like I said, I needed... the thing is, before I got in the Jefferson airplane, I'd never written a song that had words. I guess I'd written a couple of instrumentals, the most notable one, because people have heard it as Embryonic Journey.
Yeah.
I'd written some other ones that I'd since forgotten. They could have been great, who knows? I don't remember them anymore. But anyhow, I'd never written a song. But the airplane, in that era when the airplane got signed, many bands in those days were not doing their own material. They were doing other people's material.
Right.
That was the songwriters sort of almost created an image for the band themselves.
Right.
But in that 60s period, all of a sudden, the singer-songwriter became something, or the band songwriter, or whatever.
Yeah.
So that became really important, that each band, whether it was us or Crosby, Stills and Nash or the Doors or whatever, had something to say.
Right.
In any case, so my colleagues in the airplane, they always encouraged me to write, and it was done in a way that made me feel much less self-conscious had I been on my own and all of a sudden, I had to write a song, and then you go down to L.A. or to Nashville or something where there's millions of songwriters, and they go, "You suck, hit the road," So I got to do that without having anybody tell me that I suck, and like I also mentioned in the book, with all the great songwriters that we had in the airplane, they always made room for a song if I wrote one. And that's, and they didn't have to do that. I mean, they could have gone, I've written 10 songs this week. But they didn't. So I was able to get into the songwriting thing in a really gentle kind of way where there's no pressure on me to be successful as a songwriter.
Right. I kind of took that, and I wanted to ask you about that too, because you were saying, you referred to an album and said, and I got 2 songs on there too, and it was almost like like you didn't expect it.
No, I really did. I really didn't expect it because, and we were talking off camera a little bit about this with the way the industry, whatever it's become, is today. Back in those days, you couldn't record a project that anybody would ever hear unless you had a recording deal and a record company would actually do something to make it be heard. So, to have a space on that finite little bit of vinyl, somebody sacrificed some space so you could get a song on.
Right.
I mean, almost nobody would understand that today, but it was a big deal back then.
You forged your way and created that sound, that San Francisco sound.
We could spend hours just talking about this. From my point of view, one of the things that we noticed as the San Francisco musicians was that, and maybe this is just perception on my part, but there was sort of a lack of respect from some of the musicians from L.A. or Chicago or New York, where they were more professional than we were. And I got that, because none of us read music. None of us really had the same kind of studio experience. But we were good musicians, and we were able to replicate what we did. I mean, we weren't just fooling around. And so, in a way, our lack of that professional knowledge made it possible to be inventive because we didn't know what we were doing, In any case, and ultimately, I mean, it's so funny because we wound up winning respect because kids study the San Francisco sound in college now. I mean, that's ridiculous. Who would have thought that?
Do you think that's ridiculous?
No, I don't think it's ridiculous because it actually has become something. Yeah. But when I think of somebody, I've got a 20-year-old son. You could take the school. You could take a course in psychedelic music. I mean, for me, that's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Your father's paying money so you can do this?
Yeah, I guess
no,
so.
But it's a great thing because it's part of our culture now.
Yeah. Didn't you refer to that sound as that? I think other people called it sloppy.
Yeah, some people called it sloppy. There's so many ways to approach this thing. I mean, if you think about the more professional musicians, the guys that are cutting these sessions where they can cut an album in 2 days or something like that, where everything is crystal clear and all this kind of stuff. Back then, now of course you do it in Pro Tools, but our thing really was pretty much lived in the moment a lot, and a lot of it was also dictated by the fact that when we first recorded our first album, Takes Off, which is a folk rock album, it was done on a 3-track recorder, and because that's all they had, and there was no noise reduction, so they had 3 tracks because you'd record 2 and save 1 to collapse tracks and stuff like that. There's no noise reduction, so you actually had to be able to get a take quickly because you couldn't overdub more than once or twice or it degraded the sound.
Right.
Same thing is true of Suristic Pillow, 4 tracks, but you only had a very finite number of overdubs, So ultimately, you kind of got what you got. Yeah. And one of the things that I talk about a lot because it's so funny is at the end of the guitar out-vamp solo with Somebody to Love.
Yeah.
There's the last note, ding, it's a little bit flat. I'd fix that today. But that's the way, because the last
that's like
note,
your signature.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to play it like that.
Yeah.
And when we did the 2015 thing at Locken, where we sort of honored the airplane, did some of their songs, I played it that way.
Yeah,
I didn't want to play it that way. I wanted to bend that note up just a little higher.
Right. But when you look at your career now, right, and you've got to play with, I'm sure the best studios with the best musicians, and your experience in just let's just go out there and let's be us. You know, that authentic sound that you guys are so responsible for. Is there? I mean, it's different, but is there? Would you say a preference for you? Like, does one have more of a esteemable place for you than the other, or
Not really, because I think as time passes, there's an evolution that happens with getting older and keeping up with what you're doing, and there's pluses and minuses to it. One of the pluses is that I know so much more about music today than I used to know.
yeah,
And that's a good thing, especially because I teach a lot also, and I know a lot more about harmony and this and that and the other thing. One of the minuses is that it's not new to me in that way before. I mean, I have so much respect for older artists that can keep that new edge. Now, I stumble on new stuff, you know, but I've never reinvented myself. I've just kind of like worked on it and expanded on what I've got. So one of the aspects of the magic that we as young artists in the Airplane, and Hot Tuna also in its early era, in the decade of the 70s, was that it was still new and exciting, and we were still sort of apprehending new ways to manifest the music every time we went into the studio to do an album. Now, you know, today with digital editing and all this kind of stuff, you can make everything be perfect, and we've all used it. And I'm not critical about that. I mean, if you listen to Adele's recording of Hello on a real stereo with a vinyl, which fortunately I still have, the production of that song is unbelievable. And I have no idea how much it cost to produce that one song. And I'm sure there was lots of masterful editing and fixing. I mean, I don't know because I don't know her, but just knowing how some of these guys work, I'm sure they spent a lot of time making it as perfect as it is. And you listen, and you don't think about it when you listen to it, but there is an excitement to the edginess of things almost being mistakes with live music that I like. And I think that Jack and I are probably, I mean, who knows when it's going to happen, hopefully within the next year and a half or so, are going to do another project. And with this project, rather than doing so much, you know, Franken solos and editing stuff and making it as perfect as you can, because we play well together, I think we're going to try to do either a real live album or most of the stuff live, just to try to capture that feeling again, because it's still there. Now, again, like we started, like before this little segment of the conversation, Jack and I have been playing together since 1958. There's always new stuff that evolves, but it's not like all of a sudden, wow, I just discovered a new scale. Right. Maybe it'll happen. Hey, I'm ready for it if it happens, you know.
Well, playing in front of audiences is what you guys were really known for, right?
Right.
But you played in front of the biggest audiences ever.
True.
I mean, there's Woodstock, there's Monterey, there's Altamont, and I know I'm leaving festivals out, but they were...
Well, that's sort of the
Triple
triumvirate, the Triple Crown of festivals, yeah.
Right.
And I think that my vote, if I had to rank those festivals, well, Altamont would obviously be low in that totem pole, but but I think Monterey would get the vote, not because it was more significant than Woodstock, because culturally speaking it wasn't, but Monterey was, you know, none of us rock and roll guys and gals had ever been dignified by having a festival. And they didn't call it a rock and roll festival. Maybe it was a pop festival.
Yeah, right, Monterey Pop, yeah.
For whatever reason, I don't know. But in any case, but it was a rock and roll festival. However, they had guys like Ravi Shankar and all these sort of like world music things. That was the first time that we had really been respected in that way. Certainly that our band had ever been respected that way. Now, we had played the Monterey Jazz Festival in an era when they're starting to have I know the word traditional jazz is sort of an oxymoron, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Sort of non-traditional music like that Paul Butterfield played, the blues stuff, rock and roll stuff. So to actually have this pop festival, that was really cool. And the Monterey Fairgrounds, if you've ever been out there, and I'm sure it hasn't changed that much, it's really a small venue compared to any festival that they would have today. and people just walked around and all this stuff, and people allowed you to do that. So that was a magical moment because it was the first one. Now Woodstock, people go, "What do you think about Woodstock?" And I go, I'm conflicted in my memory. On the one hand, it was just another gig because we just played the Atlantic City Pop Festival, which was a huge festival too. And on the other hand, it was absolutely not just another gig for all the reasons that we all know. Mm-hmm. And we didn't hang. We drove in when we were supposed to play. We went on 18 hours late, as everybody knows.
That's not a hang?
That's a real hang. And it was a blast, and all this stuff. But just something, it's almost like, you're caught up in this moment. And it's almost like, it's kind of silly to say this, it's almost like we deserve this moment. And I don't mean just we, the band, everybody that was there, we kind of earned that moment.
Yeah. And you felt that? Like, is that something that you
I
felt
did,
in
yeah.
that moment?
On the one hand, there's this massive crowd that I'll never see again as long as I live. But on the other hand, you really felt these are our people.
Yeah. What about at Monterey with Otis Redding?
Well, Otis was one of my most memorable moments because he was just such a powerful, powerful performer. And his band, he was sort of like the un-San Francisco sound. His band was so tight with all those stops and the showmanship and that stuff. I mean, it was the what we did. And we looked at that. First of all, I love blues and rhythm and blues and all that kind of stuff. We looked at that and went, boy, I wish we could do that. But you know something? It worked out okay for us.
Yeah, sure did. Yeah. We had Scott Sherrod and Dana Fuchs as well. Both said that seeing that film of Monterey and seeing Otis Redding perform literally changed their lives.
Oh, especially with artists like you just mentioned, I can absolutely see that because, the rhythm and blues thing, it's just so different from what it is that we do. The bands need to be, they can't fool around. They're playing parts, but you don't think about that when you listen to music. You just get smacked in the face by it. It's so powerful. But if you're a musician and you want to replicate that feeling, you got to be able to do that.
Right. You didn't seem like you were really caught by the moment. You just lived the moment. Like you mentioned how, Grace, you had the first album, you had a great producer and you learned,
right.
And you were probably ahead of the curve with the other bands,
Professionally, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Grace brings these two songs.
God bless her.
Your life's changed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, I remember, Paul Kantner got me into the band, and I don't know what would have happened with. I'm sure I would have played music anyway, but it changed my life. In the most profound ways possible. We might not be having this conversation had I not gone to that audition. But the Airplane guys, the Spearhead guys, Marty and Paul, their goal was to be successful, professional rock musicians, And so when we started pitching ourselves and rehearsing, we were really serious about being professional musicians. And so all the stuff that we had to do, like joining the union, joining SAG-AFTRA, thanks for my health insurance, by the way, after rocks, guys. All that stuff, those were important rites of passage. Yeah, I'm in the union, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And so, and again, we wouldn't have made any records without having a deal. So to get that opportunity, did we butt heads with Tommy Oliver, who produced the first album and stuff like that? Sure we did, because we thought we knew everything. But, he made a great album, and we had Dave Hassinger, who was the Rolling Stones engineer. We had all these great guys. And we're recording in a great studio in RCA. All of a sudden we were real, and that couldn't have happened without that. And we welcomed that. Again, sometimes we didn't play well with others and we were hard to work with. But had it not been for the establishment.
Yeah.
Because RCA was certainly the establishment.
Right.
We needed that.
Right. But it seems like, the perfect alchemy presented itself. Was it Paul and Marty's drive that freed you up to, be you, and you didn't have to worry about that part of it, maybe?
Absolutely. Yeah, in a lot of ways, sure. We're having this conversation here at the Fur Peace Ranch, and the sign says it's Jorma Kaukonen's Fur Peace Ranch, but I'm not a business guy. Vanessa really does all this stuff. We talked about this a little bit. I mean, we'd be sitting on a hay bale out by the campfire, probably was left to me. So somebody's got to run the subways, And in this case, it was Paul and Marty. So they not only, we all wanted to be professional musicians, but they took it upon themselves to help make that happen.
But you and Jack then started doing the Hot Tuna stuff while you were still in the airplane, and did, you opened actually for the airplane, right? Sometimes.
We did. Yeah. That was later, of course. But actually, back to the professional musician thing. Jack was already a professional. He was already a union member when he came to us, because he's been working, pickup gigs and band gigs in the D.C. metropolitan area for years.
Right.
And he was actually the only guy in the band that could read. So when we had to write out, back in those days, you had to write out charts to copyright songs. You don't have to do that anymore. But he would do that for us.
Yeah, now you have an app to do that.
Yeah, or you get somebody else to do it. So Jack and I, we got the opportunity to bring what became Hot Tuna into the public eye. And as my memory, again, memory's such a fragile thing, but my memory is, again, it was Paul that gave us that opportunity. It was at the Fillmore East. That's how I remember it anyway. Maybe he had to go to the bathroom. Maybe he wanted to smoke a joint. Who knows? But in any case, he said, "Why don't you guys play a song?" And I remember taking my acoustic guitar, because we didn't have pickups back then like we do now, and going up on the microphone, and I don't know what we played. Could have been Hesitation. Could have been anything. But we played, and the crowd liked it, and then we did it again.
So then with the Hot Tuna, the music was a stretch from a lot of the airplane stuff, right? It was more intimate, more personal, a lot of acoustic stuff.
Right, in the beginning, yeah.
I can say personally, it got me through a lot of those angstful years, man, just listening to great, beautiful music that could take me away.
It got us through a lot of angstful years also, because the music also takes us away, so there was a team effort on that part. Sometimes people go, "Well, you don't play like you did with the airplane," and I go, "Because we're not playing those songs. A lot of this stuff is really music specific." Yep. So did I learn a lot in the airplane? You bet. That's part of my life. But the Hot Tuna thing was so much more first person, personal, for both Jack and myself, because it was our music.
Right.
I'm not saying that we weren't part of the airplane, but we were. What I mean?
Yeah.
The airplane sound depended on the amazing palette of talent that we had with Paul, Grace, and Marty. Writing the songs that they did and stuff. And so when we got into the Hot Tuna thing, then it was really on us. And my creative world, in a lot of ways, was smaller and more clearly defined, as a music form. We talked about Americana, whatever you want to call what it is that we did, than the airplane. Some of the stuff that Paul came up with is like, how do you think of that stuff? Really, he's a really inventive guy, In any case, so for us, especially with the acoustic stuff, to me, when I listen to acts, to music, I like a lot of different kinds of music, but I really like small groups or solo performances, because I just feel there's more of a connection in the story that I'm hearing. And so I think when Jack and I played as an acoustic duo, we were unintimidating in a lot of ways. These big shows with lights and smoke and all this kind of stuff. That wasn't who we are, and it didn't require, our music didn't require that to be part of our show. Now look, when we get, when we do a show today, and we're still playing a lot of the songs we did 50 years ago. We learn new songs too, but that's part of our story. One of the first things we say when we set up, given the kind of show it is we don't need the wind or the smoke machine. Now, I understand that's part of production and the lights show up and all that kind of stuff. But that's just not who we are. And so I think that aspect, that honesty aspect of what Jack and I brought to the table as performers is what connected us with a lot of folks, you know, because there was just no bullshit with what we were doing.
Clearly. Did you ever take the chance to kind of like, you know, step back and just kind of smell the roses? I remember when Robert Plant went off and started doing this bluegrass journey that he's been on, right? He can do that because he's Robert Plant.
That's true.
You know?
That's
like,
true.
You get to play your music. Very few people can just sustain the fact that I can go out and go my way. Like, I can determine how this is going to go.
Right.
That's very rare. You know, to
It
do
is
it at
rare.
the level you're doing.
I remember some years ago we did. I was on Prairie Home Companion with my friend Barry Mitterhoff, and Andy Cohen, the fiddle player with the shoe band up there. We were just doing a thing. I remember he came to me. He says, "Do you guys know?" And we just do what we do. He goes, "Do you guys know how lucky you are? You get paid for playing that music." And I went, "Yes."
So you do.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I mean, again, we are so fortunate on so many levels, you know. And again, there's good news and there's bad news for that too. I mean, you know, when we make records, we need to sell our records or recordings or whatever you want to call what it is we do these days to people that just want to hear it as what we do. Because even in the day of Americana, we don't really categorize easily. You know, like on my most recent, been out for a couple of years now, my Ain't No Hurry record, there's songs that I wrote. There's Carter Family songs. There's a Woody Guthrie song. There's all this stuff, you know. And companies that sell things, they hate that. They want to have it's easier for them to sell a concept. And I get that too, because when I listen to a record, I tend to like a cohesive feeling if that's what I like. So I do get it. But that's not who we are, you know. So, you know, to be able to communicate with an audience that just lets you be you, that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. Were you able to appreciate it like earlier on, or has that come in time?
Well, I think a lot of it comes in time. Like, you know, mention the Robert Plant thing. I mean, I love when he digressed into that. And, you know, and because he was Robert Plant, he was able to get a lot of access, and people were interested to see what he did. He did it's a great project. Mm-hmm. Hey, plus he had Alison Krauss. Come on, hey, you know. Yeah. My friend Byron House, that played with me on Blue Country Heart, played on that project too. And what a great project, really. You know. I think that the process for me, and maybe for Robert too, who knows? I mean, I doubt that in you know, back in his heyday, he might not have been thinking about making a bluegrass record, you know.
Right.
But again, for all of us, you know, whether it's a guy like him or somebody like me who's never really strayed far from the path that I started out on, you know, it's amazing that we're still able to do this and people listen.
Yeah. I want to get back to the book because, I mean, it blew me away. And you talked about the partying. Was it therapeutic for you to go back and relive this stuff now from the perspective you have now?
I'm not sure. Maybe. That's a good question. I'm not sure I'd use the word therapeutic. I mean, there was a lot of partying in my life because that's who I was. And you know, I remember back. I forget when it was. There was a TV ad back when some personality goes, "When you were a kid, you didn't think about growing up to be a junkie or a drunk." And I'm going, some of us did. I mean, it looked appealing. I don't know why. I mean, you know, it just seemed to make sense, you know. But and that's just the way it was. To go back and look at it for all these years, I mean, is there a lot of stuff you go, man, you know? You know, I guess most of us could wish we could have been better people, you know? I mean, I've done a lot of stuff in my life I'm not proud of, but you can't, you know, people go, if you could do it over again, I go, that's a pointless question because you can't.
Right.
And I wouldn't be the man I am today had all these things not happened. I mean, have I hurt people in the past? I'm sure I have, and I'm sorry for that, you know?
Yep.
but that's just the deal. I mean, that's just the deal. So the good news is that I got through that, and that we're able to have this conversation today.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the good news. And as far as what's happened before, I mean, there's somebody go, man, you were an asshole, and all I could say is, yeah, you're right. Sorry.
I get what you're saying totally. What I meant by therapeutic is
Okay.
like, did it help you to just put something,
Okay,
to
I
have
see.
a clear understanding of
Yeah.
maybe why or not? Because a lot of times it's not important to look back and you
Yeah,
just,
no,
just,
I see what you're
keep
saying.
moving
Yeah.
forward. And
I don't think I had a big catharsis. There wasn't like a great, like a burning bush moment. But yes, absolutely, absolutely. I think I was able to, because in the writing of the book, in a way, you're sort of reliving this stuff while you're writing it. Hey, man, I was there. Wow,
Yeah.
was I there? So yeah, I think absolutely. I think that the blessing came in the fact that I'm able to look at those things today and not shudder, and to be able to accept that that's the way it was. And I think that was important. I think that was important for me to be able to come to that point. It's made me more at peace with myself.
right.
Yeah.
I learned over the years too, like when you struggle, suffer, whatever the case is, experience, downtimes, whatever,
Yeah.
however you want to label that, is that out of that comes a certain compassion for somebody else.
Sure.
And I don't know, I mean, it's a tough price to pay, yet you're one of the few that can carry a message to help somebody that's going through that, somewhere down the road.
Yeah. I mean, the danger, I think, and there have been times when I've been bitter and angry. It's been a while. And I think for me, I really had to get through that. I mean, when you're in that moment of anger and bitterness and, blaming the universe for whatever it is, whatever afflictions you're dealing with, I mean, that's just how it was. But for me, until I learned how to put that behind me, I couldn't start to get over it,
Yep.
I mean, you just really have to, quit blaming other people for stuff.
Yeah. When you were talking about your first relationship, and
Sure.
there was a lot of music stuff going on there too.
Right.
Changing, reforming Tuna, and
Right.
doing your own thing, and there wasn't I didn't know what was going to be coming next. Did you?
No, that's really funny. One of the great things I think, Jack, God bless him, what a guy. Hot Tuna never really disbanded officially. We quit playing together for a while, but we didn't go, heck with this. I hate you. We're not going to. We never did that. So we didn't have to make up after that.
You weren't big on closure, were you?
I was not big on closure. I've learned a lot about that since then. I was not big on closure. Closure's not a bad thing. Closure's not a bad thing. I mean, I've been gifted with having a certain talent, and I'm not afraid to work. So, but people go, do you ever think about, wow, having a career? The word career wasn't even in my vocabulary. It's just what I wanted to do. And I think maybe in some ways, I might have been even been afraid to use the word career, because as soon as if you dignify it, then there's a possibility that you might fail. Whereas if it's just I never thought about this until right now, but whereas if it's just something you do, how can you possibly fail? You've never set a goal that you can't attain. I don't know. Interesting thought. Next book, maybe. Who knows?
Wow. Breakthrough.
Yeah, breakthrough. Oh, what time is it? But anyhow, yeah. So, but the thing is that I just really love music, and in a way, the guitar just has really been my drug of choice forever. I mean, I just love the darn things, and it's they're fun to play.
Yeah.
They're just it's always telling me something, In a way, it's a metaphor for life. Wait a minute, I'm making note of that. Guitar, no. But the guitar is always telling me things. A new little figure, some chord change, something that goes, maybe you should write a song using that. Who knows, Or just because it sounds cool. I mean, when I first started playing acoustic guitar, I just loved the way it sounded. And I loved the way it sounded when other people played guitar also, but just the fact that I'm holding this thing even before I really knew how to play it, I'm playing this chord. Wow, listen to that. I mean, I'd played taken piano lessons for a number of years, and I enjoyed the music because I like music, but the piano never spoke to me on that level.
Right, right. There were some songs, the Hard Temporary,
Yeah.
the way they came to you.
Sure.
Could you talk about like that one in particular?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that, for me, and then when I teach songwriting classes, I go, look, can you really teach somebody to write a song? No, but I can make you write a song. And here's the deal. If you get an inspiration, you got to jump on that puppy immediately, or I'll remember it. No, you won't. You'll never remember it in a million years.
Right.
You might think you remember it, it'll never come back. Yeah, the Hard Temporary thing, Vanessa, it was in the early 2003, I think it was, and we were having this discussion. There's one of these discussions that men hate to have with their wives, the being a better man discussion, and she hit this line about self-inflicted piercing of the heart, stuff like that. And she looked at me and she went, "That's a great line for a song." I went, "Yes, it is." And she says, "Get out there to the barn and write a song." And I went, "Well, okay." And I went out and I started writing things down, and I went to, and I just started messing around. And that's a D chord, and that's just a D chord too, but, and just that one note, and everything just started to fall into place.
Wow.
And I sat down and I wrote the first two verses, and then I looked out the window of this little studio that I had, and we had this old barn there. I mean, everything that's in that, the two dogs sleeping in the sun, the sky. I mean, everything was happening in that moment. And because I didn't stupidly go, I'll take a couple notes, I'll finish this later. I sat down, I wrote the whole song just like that. Now, the same thing happened in Woodstock in 2009, when we were doing the Hot Tuna Steady As She Goes. Jack had written some changes, and Larry Campbell had forged it into a song format, and they asked me to write some lyrics for it. Now, normally, to me, when I'm doing something that I'm not collaborating with, it's the guitar, the song, it all happens together. But they gave me this finished song, and it's called Smoke Rise Journey on the album, and everything that's in that was happening. There was a train nearby. There was the Esopus River. There was mist. I mean, all the images and stuff. It was happening right there. I'm looking out the window and I'm sitting around with my guitar and writing the song, and that happened just like that.
Wow. How special is that to you? Like, I mean, does that?
Oh.
I mean, now we all get to share that
Yeah.
that moment with you.
Yeah.
But when you're feeling it, do you know it's one of those moments? Like,
Absolutely.
This is magic?
Absolutely. Because, I mean, again, if I was a tunesmith that wrote a song for a living, I could be waiting a long time for those moments to happen.
Yeah.
One of the other songs that I did also in Woodstock was the River of Time song.
Yeah.
Where we'd already named the album River of Time, and it was the last night of the session, and I hadn't written the song yet, and I went back, I took a guitar case, and I got back to the hotel, and the guitar case was a Collings case. Well, I don't know the Collings, that's a guitar. And I opened up, and the case was empty. Now it's 3 a.m. Levon's studio is locked up. And so I wrote a poem, and then the next day I'm sitting in the woods at Levon's place, and the melody came. I mean, that's never happened. I mean, that's absolutely a gift. There's no two ways about that. So yeah, when that happens, you bet I'm aware of it.
Yeah. I feel like a glutton. And I don't want to like take you hostage here, right? So I'm going to move this along because this is already. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I can't even. I don't even have the words. But when you when you met Vanessa, like
Sure.
According to this account, right, everything changed. There was a complete change.
Absolutely.
Not that. It took you a little. You spoke
Yeah, it was a
candidly
process.
about a process.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
but. You knew you were in the process at that point. Like, you knew things are different now, right?
Right. Well, I knew I was in a process. Now, I was still drinking and using back then, and it never occurred to me that wasn't how I'd always be living. I mean, I hadn't really seriously given thought to the fact that in my opinion, in my world, you're either sober or you're not sober. It's like being almost pregnant, you know?
Right.
So I hadn't really heard about that aspect of it. Hadn't occurred to me yet. However, I knew that there was some force in the universe in play. Now, when you talk about stuff like this, you know, it's like, sure you did. Come on. I'm going, look, you know, I'm not the kind of guy that sees things in tea leaves and stuff like that. But every now and then, God just smacks you in the face and says, wake up, stupid, because there's something going on here. You need to pay attention. And I started to pay attention to this. And, you know, and Vanessa, you know, had to put up a lot with me while I was learning how to grow up over the period of time. But I think that the where I am today, certainly the door started open that July in 1988.
And you spoke about, like, you're maturing with her. I mean, that's when I used the word eloquently, because it was really like you really honored her in a beautiful way in this story.
You know, it's really funny. I don't know. You know, many guys might disagree with me, but I think generally speaking, you know, women just seem to be more in touch with things, and us guys are just such doofuses most of the time, you know. So
guilty as charged.
I'm speaking about myself anyway. You know, so I think she was ahead of my curve on that point, but that's just who she is. But I think what started to happen, Country Joe, you know, he's one of my buddies. We were talking one time, and he goes, you know, most of us didn't start. We're still adolescents when we're in our 50s, and in my case, that was certainly the case. Now everybody's not like that. I mean, I know, you know, I've got an almost 21-year-old son, and he's not that guy.
Right.
He's not that guy at all.
Thank God.
Yes, thank God. Yeah. But anyhow, so the pieces were in play, definitely, and for whatever reason, you know, Vanessa, my relationship with Vanessa gave me enough rope to not only hang myself, but to get my neck out of the noose at the same time.
Yeah. I made the reference earlier when we were speaking before we started was with the Velveteen Rabbit thing, and like I think that's why this is the part of your life that I kind of drew with that, because I mean, you recognized it for what it was and seized the opportunity, you know, like as being this. You know, this is a special person, and you know, and let's treat it accordingly. Yeah. And then the growing starts taking a completely different level.
Yeah, but again, you know, the process is like, I mean, here I am. I'm going to be 78 years old this year, and you know, part of me goes, man, I really wish I'd pulled my head out of my ass earlier, but you know, it would have made a sonic boom heard around the world. That ain't the way it worked out, you know. But yeah, I mean, once again, I mean, I hate to repeat this too many times. I'm going to say it again. I've been blessed on so many levels, you know, and one of the really major ones, aside from the fact that thanks to my genetics, my doctor, you got to thank mom and dad for your genetics, because so far, you know, I'm a healthy guy, but the world that's important to me, my world with Vanessa and all the stuff that goes along with it, has allowed me to be part of it. While I continue to work on this process that I think has made me a better man on some levels. Now, again, you know, you say something like that, and I know there's somebody out there, you're still an asshole. Maybe. I don't know. But in any case.
Fuck him.
Yeah, exactly.
She also was able, she brought out like when you last saw your dad. Right. I was like, these moments were so poignant in your life. Right. That she pointed out, this is it. Yeah. Like, and you didn't see it that way back then.
I didn't. You know, and she saw something in his eyes the last time she saw him, and you know, and she's really tuned into that stuff. You know, maybe we all are, or maybe we all have that potential, but we're just too stupid to see the forest for the trees sometimes. I mean, that's certainly the case for me a lot of times. Yeah. Because thinking back on it, I get it, but I didn't see it then.
Right. Yeah. But now you got a new set of eyes here. Now
absolutely. Absolutely. I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about when you were going through your stuff, was it your parents' stuff? Yeah. And you came across this poem
Right.
that your grandfather wrote like 37 years prior to you finding it.
Right.
Can
wrote
you
that
talk about that? That was another one.
Sure, yeah. Actually, I used that pretty much to close the book. And, you know, both my parents, my dad, you know, he was an analyst when he worked for the State Department, whatever that means, you know. I'd like to think he was a spy. Who knows what he did? Anyway, but he wrote about shit. That's what he did. And when he was out of the government, because he loved doing that, he kept all these diaries, and he was always writing something. And my mother did too. And unbeknownst to me at the time, so did my grandfather. When my parents passed away, my brother didn't want any of that stuff. And so we just had, and I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. So we just had boxes of shit from my parents. We had bank recs. My parents had bank recs from the 50s. They couldn't throw them away. I had to throw them away like 10 years ago. You know that stuff. It's hard to get rid of that stuff. But anyway, so I remember I was sitting in my little studio thing, the same place when I wrote Heart Temporary. I wasn't thinking about writing a book. I was just like trying to clean up stuff. And I'm looking through these boxes, and there was a folder that had some stuff from my grandfather that he'd written in this rehab home in southern Maryland, where he was after he lost his legs because of diabetes. And I'm just looking at this stuff. And I'm looking at this, and it was like, you know, and I'm thinking, man, I wish I'd go to visit him more, all that kind of stuff. And I found that poem, was like, holy shit, where is this thing being? I mean, there are so many papers. How could I have even found this? I could have just gone, I don't need this stuff, you know.
Right.
But I didn't, and there it was.
Like you say, you can't make it up.
No, you can't make this stuff up, no.
Right. You know, I wanted to thank you, Jorma, you know, for being so honest and so
thanks.
candid about your personal story, which just there's so much there. I'm sure you have another couple of volumes, right?
Hey, who knows? I just quickly have to interject here, and thanks for your thanks. You know, it's just at this point in my life, it's just really important for me to be honest.
Yeah.
And does it work all? Does it work all the time? No. I bust myself and say, well, hold it now. You're exaggerating, whatever, you know. But it's just really important for me.
Yeah. Well, and I think in a synopsis would be a life of second chances.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I just wanted to see if we could close this by you reading a verse from your...
See, that's funny stuff. If I was playing it, I wouldn't need the words. But if I'm going to say it, I need
I
to
wanted
read
to
it.
hear you read that, you know.
Sure.
That's my own selfishness, but...
Okay, well, that's quite all right. Okay, I got to focus. I don't have my glasses on now. Hey, getting old ain't for sissies. Anyway, we all want second chances, a chance at being free, a chance to take our measure here, see what we can be. The dance that isn't over till the last note has been played. We bow with thanks. We walk back home to see what we have made. Yeah, that's how that you know, that verse came to me. I wrote it, and again, the song flowed from that one stanza.
That's a definition of eloquence right there. That's beautiful.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah. Well, I thank you, and I'm glad that you have your second chance and what you're doing with it now.
Amen, brother.
This is an absolute honor. Are you going to be able to take us out with a song or
Sure.
whatever?
Certainly.
Okay, from the Third Piece Ranch, the one and only Jorma Kaukonen.
So we were talking a little bit about what to play. Since we have time for one, I guess I'll play one. So I was thinking about whether to do an original song. Nah, we'll do something. Go back to where it kind of all started out for me, which is with this version of Hesitation Blues. My version is more or less from Reverend Gary Davis, although the real credit has to go to Ian Buchanan. May he rest in peace. Young guy from Forest Hills, New York. In any case, so I have the Hesitation Blues. was a dime, I said, need a new gown, Lord, she won't mind. Tell me how long. Well, do I have to wait? Can I get you now, baby? Must I hesitate? You know, eagle on the dial says, God we trust. Want a man to see that dollar first. Tell me how long. Well, now do I have to wait? Can I get you now, baby? Must I hesitate? Well, rocks in the ocean, baby, fish in the sea, Lord knows you mean that world to me. Tell me how long do I have to wait? Can I get you now, baby? Must I hesitate? We got the hesitation stockings, I said, hesitation shoes, Lord knows I got them hesitation blues. Tell me how long do I have to wait? Can I get you now, baby? Must I hesitate? Can I get you now, baby? Must I hesitate?
Wow.
Hesitation blues.
Wow. Wow. Jorma, I cannot thank you enough, man. This is an absolute honor.
Oh, man, my pleasure,
Thank
believe
you
me.
so much.
Thanks, fellas.